Okay, so I thought I'd talk you through a few examples to do with domain and range. Okay, so we're going to start with a very basic function. So let's start with f of x is equal to, let's say, x plus 1. Okay, so you've got to imagine that if I draw this line, okay, so it's a straight line that looks something like this. Okay, so it passes through 1 on the y-axis, it passes through -1 on the x-axis. What you've got to imagine is that, well, what I can do is I can plug in any value of x and I get out any value of f. Okay, any value of y, effectively. So what we say is that x can belong to the real numbers, which is all the numbers you like under the sun, okay, except for the complex numbers, which we don't need to go into, okay, so we can write x belongs to R. So this little symbol here means belongs to, okay, and subsequently, because I can plug in any value of x I like, I can get out any value of f we like, okay, so f of x also belongs to R. Okay, so when I'm talking about x, I am talking about the domain. Okay, so that is the domain. Effectively, it is the values for x for which it exists. When I talk about the range, that is f of x, okay, the function. Okay, so what values of f can take. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at a very simple example using this, okay, so I'm going to have f of x is equal to x plus 1 again, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to restrict the domain. So I'm going to say that the domain is between -2 is less than x is less than 3, say, okay, so if I draw the graph, I change colour. So let's say it looks something like this. Okay. Let's extend the f-axis a little. Okay, so what we have is that this line exists between -2 and 3. Okay, that's the domain. It is restricted. So what I'm being asked is, what is the range of this function? So effectively, from which two values on the y-axis is it bounded by? Okay, so what I do is I plug in f -2, so I plug in -2, and I get -2 plus 1, which is equal to -1. And f of 3 is equal to 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4. Okay, so it goes between -1 and 4. So I could write that the range is -1 is less than f of x is less than 4. So notice again how this domain is in terms of x and the range is in terms of f. Okay, and I've made sure that the inequality signs match as well. So let's have a look at another example. So let's have a look at f of x is equal to 2x minus 1 squared plus 4. Okay, and I'm going to say that x belongs to the real numbers. So now what I've got is a situation where I've got a parabola, and I can draw in its vertex. Okay, I know its vertex is at 1, 4. Okay, so that's 1, 4. Okay, so what I can say is that if x belongs to the real numbers, then the range is f of x is greater than or equal to 4. Okay, because the function only exists from 4 upwards. Okay, so that is the range. It's as straightforward as that. I'm going to pick another one from the book, I think. Let's have a look at this one. So in this case, we have g of x is equal to x plus 1 squared, take away 2. Okay, so this is another parabola, but the domain is restricted so that x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so if I actually draw the curve as it is, the vertex is at -1, -2, which is down here. Okay, so that it looks something, well, let's try and draw it fairly accurately, which is a tad difficult with one of these pens, but that isn't too bad. Okay, so there is -1, -2. However, this function only exists when x is greater than or equal to 0. So what I can do is I can say, well, it doesn't exist beyond there, so all I'm looking at is the right hand side. Okay, so I get rid of that completely. So what I need to make sure of is where is this curve cutting the y-axis. So where is this point here? Okay, and in order to do this, I'm going to have to multiply out the brackets, because what I'm going to get is x squared plus 2x plus 1, and I've still got that -2 on the end. Okay, so x squared plus 2x minus 1. So this point is -1. So effectively the range is g of x is greater than or equal to -1. -1 is the lowest point. Okay, because we've restricted the domain. Okay, so what you need to do, what you need to be able to do, is substitute in the points. If we go back to this one, okay, if you've got a domain that is restricted between 2 points, substitute them into the f, so write your workings out as I have done, okay, so that then you can draw yourself a little sketch or use your graphical calculator, okay, to be able to say, right, that means that f is between -1 and 4. Okay, and you just need to make sure that your inequality signs match up.